All right, welcome to Raising Funds for World Domination, Day 66. So here's the standard intro. The only update in the last week or so is I got my notification for when the next eviction hearing will be, and it's currently scheduled for October 6th, so I can chill out for a bit and work on some stuff. The other main update is for the last week or so, I've been working on getting taxes done, so it's time for the year-end corporate tax filing for my business. So I had to get through that, and I think today I actually finished getting through all the receipts and calculating the trial balance. So I guess I still have to do a bit of review on that, and then probably be able to send that off to the accountant within a week or so. So now I actually have the ability to get back to, I'm going to try to pivot back to focusing on video production. So probably during the day, I'll try to pump out some more videos for you guys. And then in the evenings, I'll probably continue this live streaming series for a while. Well, it seems like Toronto housing stuff is truly dystopian. What keeps you in Canada? Yeah, it is kind of dystopian, to be honest. I guess the real question is, like, where would I go? I guess there's multiple factors to consider. Like, if I moved somewhere, where would I go? It's not like I can just move some random place and buy a house or something. There's always the option move back in with parents for a bit. I think it does make sense, as bad as Canada is, it makes sense to stay just because the only bit of family I have is in Canada. And if I've already been down to the States before, and like just moving to a new place doesn't immediately fix everything, because you still have to like network and meet people and stuff, and moving to a new place where you don't know anyone and having to rebuild your entire network. I've done that before multiple times, and it's a lot of work. If you have an income stream that isn't attached to physical location, like streaming, you could take that income, go somewhere else. It's a lot more like Mexico. I don't know. Honestly, recently I've been hearing a lot more about Mexico. Mexico seems to be descending into like a narco state, and I'm hearing more and more news about how bad it is down there. Robert doesn't live in Toronto. I live near Toronto. With the stories I hear coming out of Mexico, I'm definitely not inclined to go there. Eastern Europe, I don't know. People, there's lots of I get lots of random people coming into my chat who say just move to these places, but without knowing anyone in these places or having network there, it doesn't make sense to go to a random country where I don't know anyone and try to start over. If I was to go anywhere, it would be the strategy would be to get a job at like Google, Microsoft, or whatever, at like any location at all, and then move to that place. Like possibly even, well, somewhere in California or Seattle, or I guess maybe even the mid Texas or wherever Google would be hiring. Budget Mexico is different from mainland. Even a State Department categorizes it as very low risk. Yeah, but for how long? Play Fortnite? No, I want to build my own game. Okay. So last night, continued working on, I'm working on converting a data structure. So I worked on fixing some unit tests for a data structure, fundamental data structure, the cuboid address data structure, to a new version of that same data structure that is initialized slightly differently with an upper bound that's exclusive rather than inclusive. So that required updating some test cases and various things. So last night, I think I got those tests working. So I guess what I could probably do is maybe comment out some of those print statements. And eventually I'll delete these once I know for sure they're not needed. Let's get dominant. Yes, indeed. All right, this still works. That's good. Just joined. What are you doing? I am currently working on. I'm working on this video game, which is a video game that you play in the Linux terminal, and you wander around an infinite procedurally generated universe, and you spam the M key to mine blocks. And the current bit of development I'm working on is updating fundamental data structure in the game to fix a design flaw in that data structure. And that once I fix that design flaw, that'll make some other stuff simpler. Fishfuck says, hi, how's it going? So I think one of the next steps I might do, I guess I should rerun the unit tests, but one of the next steps I'll do is make sure the unit tests actually pass, that I'm running them with enough test cases. What are you doing? I'm currently working on a terminal-based video game that I'll show you in a second. So I'm currently working on building this video game, which is a video game you play on the Linux terminal, where you wander around an infinite procedurally generated universe, and you spam the M key to mine blocks. And I'm currently working on fixing a design flaw in one of the fundamental data structures. Love from India. Excellent. All right, I think that's my tests are valid. Where are you from? I'm from Canada originally, or from the east coast of Canada. I moved to the center of Canada, which is where I am now. There's a bunch of fireworks out there for something. Ever been to high level Alberta? Nope. Alberta seems like an interesting place. I wouldn't. It's one of the places in Canada I wouldn't mind being. Although I guess the extreme north it can get pretty cold. Don't forget me. Once you rule the world. Don't worry, I won't. Although everyone's username's changed, so it's been harder to recognize the frequent comers. What about Fort McMurray? I don't know my Alberta geography very well. Is that in the far north? I forget. Alright, that looks like it works. Alright, looks like it actually works. Fort Mac is like center north. Yeah, not sure. Never been to Alberta at all, I don't think. What is this? I just got here. Let me go ahead and compile the game for you. So I'm currently working on developing a video game that you play in the Linux terminal, which I will display momentarily. So it's a terminal-based video game where you wander around an infinite procedurally generated universe and you spam the M key to mine blocks. Like so. And currently I'm working on fixing a design flaw in one of the fundamental data structures that I use for this game, so that I can simplify some things and make it less error prone. So let's do a code review of this class. Sorry, my guy, but I have to do a shameless plug for my channel. Just posted a video myself. What's the video about? K-log televised. Jesus is the king. That's good to know. What time is it there? It is currently 10:24 p.m. Me using N8N with local models to answer emails. I was testing a video format. Check it out. Oh, is that like an AI thing or something? Basically like agentic email answering. I probably won't check that out, but it's an interesting concept, I guess. I already get tons and tons of large language model powered spam every day. I ignore all of them. Which programming language are you using? This is in Java. All right. right, that's good. Those are private methods. Now, I will tempt fate and see if I can go ahead and just make this class a wrapper for my new updated version of this cuboid class. Yeah, your V1 CPU is one of the reasons I do this as well. It's AI with local models. I mean, you might like the video format. I'm sure you could do it much better. If you wanted to take, I mean, with the N8N, I'm not familiar with what that is. sure I could do it much better myself if I wanted to tinker with it. Maybe. I have no experience with that particular tool you talked about. And then the other part of that statement is if I wanted to. The main thing is there's a million things that I could tinker with, but there's only a finite amount of things to waste your time on. Kind of like a GUI no-code editor to cool up APIs or Tango language model APIs, but it is everything. You can mainly do things by creating webhooks. If there isn't already some N8 endnode. I don't know. It sounds like there's a type of tool. There's probably a million of those. I don't have time to research them at the moment. Any thoughts on Carney's first few months? Honestly, I've tuned out from the kind of status quo of, especially Canadian politics, is the politicians. They always just say like, we are going to fix all these problems, and then like years later, like the Liberal campaign on like making housing affordable. They just said the exact same thing for years and years and years, and then they just did not do it over and over and over again. So honestly, the first few months kind of doesn't matter. It's more like, will the things that are said now happen in the future? I think in some cases, what was it? I mean, he said some. So far, like I haven't meticulously fact checked everything, but there's been a few specific things where he came out and said something that, and then like directly contradicted it. Like he'd go to Alberta and tell Alberta people one thing, and then go to Quebec and tell them like the complete opposite. And then and then saying to everyone that our relationship with the U.S. is over. And then he went down to visit Trump, and he's like, actually, our relationship is great. So, whatever, politicians can say what they want, and we'll see what happens. Things will either be better or worse, or the same in the next few years. Politicians never have our best interests. Yeah, they definitely have someone's interests in mind, but it's who knows if it's ours or not. Do you think learning how to build libraries like PyTorch, TensorFlow is a good idea or a waste of time? I've been poking around at some open source stuff. It's a good question. I've heard of those before, so that's a good sign. The thing is, there's like a million things you could learn, and like while you spend the next couple of years mastering those things, like everything is moving forward and everything is changing. So I would say it's worth wasting your time on it if you're using it for something right now. So like if you're getting paid at a job to use it, then I think it's beneficial. Or if there's some like if it's related to the thing, if you need it, like there's many tools you could learn, and if you need that tool to do whatever's relevant to you for your next project or job or school project or whatever. But I would say like learning frameworks and things for the sake of it, just so you can maybe put it on your resume, is it's questionable value. There's some frameworks, like for example, if you're doing web dev, like learning React, I would say, if you not knowing React is quite relevant broadly for everything in web, and this may be certain other things like learning Docker, how to run Docker containers. That's I think broadly relevant. But ideally, you want to be getting paid to learn stuff. Anyways, thanks for giving me some exposure and responding. Really appreciate it. Good luck with world domination. If you still have trouble with the landlord, there are ways of solving that. All right, good to know. Looks like the font is smaller. I can't read people's names. Mr. Incredible Shorts. Hey. Are you trying to say some bad words? Do I need to ban you? Okay, this function will be initialized with this one cuboid address, and then everything else should call down to that. Sup, Robert and chat. How's it going? 360. Not too bad. Yesterday night, I think I got all the test cases passing for the new migrated data structure. So what I'm going to do today, is I'm going to make the cuboid address just wrap around the old cuboid address, an instance of the old. Oh, that should be new cuboid address. Yeah, so cuboid address is just going to own a new cuboid address, and then I'll just translate the calls, and most of them will hopefully just be the same. So that method will remain. That's a static method. So there's no this involved. Same as that one. That one's the same. I think I missed the context from an earlier stream. New qubit address is more correct, but it is also for making things more unit testable. So the let's see, what's the easiest way? You know, ideally I need a what are the I'll install GIMP and then I'll explain it to you with actually drawing stuff out. Has any yet made Pinky and the Brain reference to your World Domination title? I think I've seen a couple references to that. Yeah, there's been at least one person that mentioned it. Are you Punky or the Brain? Narf. I haven't really thought about that. Actually, I don't even know if I've watched enough of that show to know. I know of it and some of the memes about it, but first get a rock, then smash the rock. Now you've got 98% concentrated silicon dioxide. Watching for the first time, sorry if I'm behind. What is the project you're working on? I'm working on a terminal-based video game where you simulate the process of mining blocks of iron ore, and you get to wander around an infinite, procedurally generated universe. And it won't compile right now, but if you skip earlier in the stream, I have some, or in some of the previous streams, there's some demos of me playing the game. I also have a video explaining it. Played Dwarf Fortress. I've not played it. I've watched videos about it. I find it like interesting as a meta study of like the limits of what people will play in video games. It's like an interesting game development story, but I haven't played it. You have the MEF tile set for Dwarf Fortress. It's been deleted from the internet. I have the MEF is Mac. I have the Mac tile set for. I'm not quite sure what you mean by that. I'm not sure about the tile set for that game. Which OS is the best for a developer? For Linux, I would say just use Ubuntu. What project is this? This is a terminal-based video game that you run in the Linux terminal, and you simulate the process of mining blocks of iron ore. Oh, I promised if 5.360 is still there, promised that I would explain you're still there. So let me so I may have this data structure. So I have a data structure for describing regions of space. So if you have like a coordinate space, it's not drawing. Okay, there we go. Okay. Pencil. That's better. Okay, let's say you have a coordinate space like this. So that's our X and Y. In the game, I need to describe regions of space. So for example, to describe a chunk where something is. So the way I've invented this data structure called a cuboid address. So in the just 2D plane, so you'd have one point there. So if you want to describe it as like a square, you would have I just call this the lower canonical coordinate and the upper canonical coordinate. And so it's a point where it's the point, this point here. Yeah, I guess you can see that. This point might be like 1, comma 1, and that's comma 6, comma 6, or something. So this point here is the point that is the lowest of anything in this like square region here. So what I mean by this cuboid address, I mean everything between all of the blocks that are between 1, 1 and 6, 6 in this. So if you just go through like 1, 1, 1, 1, 2, oops, 1, 1, 1, 2, 1, 3, 1, 4, 1, 5, 1, 6, and then 2, 1, 2, 2, 2, whatever, all the way up to fill up every single point in here. That's what I mean by the cuboid address. And then, but also you can describe regions like a rectangle if you want. So if you want to go only one high, so you could have 2 points like here, and then it'd be a very long region. Now, so that's easy to understand in the 2D case. In general, in the game, I wanted the game to work in higher dimensions because there's a lot of things that are easier if your data structure like natively supports higher dimensions. So this works in the 2D case, but the data structure is general, so it's just like a vector. So most of the math to get this to work in 2D, you just add like another coordinate to make it work in 3D. So in general, it works in I also use this for describing 3D space, and yeah, I don't really have any applications for it yet, but it can also work in 4D and stuff. So if you could imagine if you wanted to have like a Minecraft world where, in addition to blocks being in space, you could store like another vector for each block in the world. You just add an extra dimension, and in that dimension you can store stuff like pressure and temperature and other kind of physical properties. And so this way, if you want to describe like a chunk of the world, you just add four 4D coordinate pair. So the problem that I'm trying to solve is in the data structure, the way I wrote it, if I have, say, the smallest region of space that I can represent is of size 1. So I made the range inclusive. So for this, it would be currently, it would be 1, 1, 2, 1, comma 1. And I'm going to change this so that's how it used to be. And to represent that same region of space, I'm going to make it 1, 1, 2, 1, 2, 2. And so this previously 1, 1 to 1, 1 would mean a region of size 1 block, but I'm going to make it so that this means actually 0 blocks. So the end is going to be non-inclusive. Because I guess at the time I thought like, there's no reason to represent 0-sized regions of space. But then later, I guess I didn't think too hard about it. And eventually, I realized that there's tremendous reasons. There's like for one example, like the map area. When I first started with the game, that data structure is initialized to null, but I would like to initialize it to some valid region, because, for example, when I like do requests to the server and stuff like that, like if I get a message back from the server saying that a region of space loaded, but let's say like there's a race condition where something's not initialized, and then I get a notification that a region of the world updated. Should I update it on the map? Then what I want to do is I want to say, is there an intersection between this current region of the map region of the world that updated, and the region of the world that's on the map? And if I can represent 0-sized regions of space, then I can run that exact same function call and say, is there an intersection between this new message and the completely empty region that is the map area, because it's not initialized yet? and then it'll work. It'll say like, nope, there's no intersection. And then the code is much simpler. But right now, I have all these null checks everywhere. And if I don't have those, there can be like some, race condition where maybe it's not even triggered right now on my computer. But then when I distribute the game or something, there's some race condition where a message comes back at a different time. And then it tries to calculate the intersection, but actually the cuboid address is null. And then there's a null pointer exception, and the program crashes. Sounds way cleaner, having to consider null cases everywhere. Yeah, and it also, I also found that there's a ton of places in my code where I have to do +1 or -1 and everything. And then I was like, wait a minute, why didn't I make this an exclusive? Because then I can get rid of all those +1s and -1s everywhere. I learned something today. Hopefully. I actually, to be honest, I'm not a game developer, so there might actually be a more standard way to do this. This is just like the way that I invented it. This cuboid address thing is just a thing that I made up. There might be some more standard way in the game industry they represent that. Okay. Sam sends a wave. Sam N1 J2S waves. Standard is for cats. Okay, what I was doing was Oh, nice. We got a super chat. $20 USD. Thanks for some coffee and tea. Excellent. Thank you very much. To 5. Oh, it's not 5536. It's 563 6360. USD is the best type of super chat. Yes. That's very accurate. Because right now it looks just like $20, but then soon, once the UI changes, it'll show how much it is in Canadian, which is always more. Today I learned that Atlantis was a long ditch dug into the south of England. Neat. I didn't know that. Is that actually confirmed? What am I looking at? You are looking at the source code for a data structure in my terminal-based video game. Some guy trying to code his new K-pop dream app. I don't think I've ever heard this project described as a K-pop dream app. Is it a K-pop game? I would not. I was going to say no, but that's a good idea. I think you're onto something. Atlantis is the eye of the Sahara. I'm not sure if that's accurate. I have no idea what I'm talking about. Or do you? Maybe you're secretly a genius. I actually visited the Eye of the Sahara in March. That's a pretty remote location, if I remember correctly. TF we doing? We're currently working on editing a data structure in my terminal-based video game. Nothing is there except basalt and disappointment. Isn't the Eye of the Sahara like an absolutely massive structure? It's like it's only visible from space, and if you go there, it's like you can't even see it when you're on the ground. Took 2 days to drive there from the capital. Yeah, I would believe that. I'm a K-pop game on the right day. Interesting. I'm not sure what that implies. Weird geological formation. Not totally unique. It's enormous. Yeah, I thought it was. It's mainly visible from space, isn't it? visited a meteorite crater near called Shamsiat, and you can't even tell it's a crater when you get there. That's interesting. I'd imagine there's not a lot of people that traveled there. Anyway, who cares about my stupid adventures? This man is coding. I'm not a genius. The Canadian government said I'm illiterate. The Canadian government says a lot of things. Yeah, I watched, I can't remember if it's in the Sahara, but it's, there's a place somewhere over there. Which country was it? There was a video I watched about, like, someone found these weird formations. There were these these regular patterns of holes that were drilled. I think it was in the Sahara somewhere. It was in the middle of nowhere. And then they they did a whole bunch of research and stuff and couldn't find out any information about what they were. So they actually they went on this like multi-day journey to go to the middle of absolute nowhere. And it was in one of those like desert areas where you have to drive for like 2 days. And they went there and they looked at some artifacts and stuff and talked to some people in the nearest town, and they said it was in like the 1960s or something. Some an oil company was there drilling for oil. There's a YouTube video of this. I'm not sure where you search for to find it. Probably like mysterious patterns in desert. Who needs to speak or write French? I'll write a paper about it and link it if anyone cares. Same story with Shamsiat. Some company was there in the early 2000s. Writing a paper about it that sounds like a lot of work. I would assume there's like probably lots of random researchers and stuff that have been there. It'd be a great, that'll make for a good vlog. I missed Sam's chat. Rich chat, structure diameter 40 kilometers. Robert, have you ever seen anything mysterious in the sky? Like it shouldn't be there. It depends what you mean. I've never seen any like UFOs or anything. Yeah, I don't know. Not sure. I remember. I do remember back when people were talking about like increased drone sightings and stuff like that. I actually noticed a lot more drones back when Russia first invaded Ukraine. There just seemed like there was a way more like random aircraft like flying around in the sky, and I noticed them like they would turn on their light and like they were going back and forth and stuff in weird patterns. And I think I checked Flight Radar 24 and at least one of them was not on there. This was quite a while ago though. I'm employed, so who cares? When sailing a light formation just disappeared. You don't get the Northern Lights that far south in Ontario. I've never really noticed them. I've heard like supposedly there's times when there's increased solar activity. They say like if you wake up at 4 a.m, you might be able to see them in your area. I haven't noticed them in any significant way here. What is your edict when you achieve world domination? I'd say probably best thing would be to fix all the economy, stop all the wars, and then just make it so we can all just chill out and we can all go indoors and write computer programs. We can write really fast algorithms. We can write our own terminal-based block mining games. We can make GDP go up. We can make some really good food. That edict would piss a lot of people off. Too bad. When I'm dictator, people are just gonna have to live with it. Not insane goals. I moved from Canada 3 years ago to Uruguay. I just came back last year. Canada has gotten way worse. Yes, that is consistent with my lived experience. I've been here the whole time, but it's things are more insane here. I mean, it's also, we've had extremely high immigration, and depending on where you go, like, things are just things are different. Like the on the ground reality is different everywhere. Like if you go to Toronto, the demographics are like, we've had so much extreme immigration so quickly. If you go to a given place, you can't really get a good vibe of how things are overall in Canada. At least less so now than you could in the past. Oh well, indeed. That's about all you can do about the situation now. Alright, I think that's the rest of the functions that need to be converted. Auto compile. What about auto compile? I don't know, I just say random coding buzzwords from time to time. Yeah, that's kind of what I thought you meant by autocompile. Alright, that might have everything that I need. Let's see if this compiles. If it completely, totally breaks and crashes. Is AI okay to do the coding you do? I heard AI is good for making a functional structure, then go in and clean up the work. It's actually on my to-do list to experiment with AI tools. A lot of people have been talking about it. I have kind of like messed around with some AI tool. I did mess around with ChatGPT's coding when it first came out, and back then, mostly it was just like you could paste some code in ChatGPT, but the context windows are small, and I also tried was it Copilot or something? I tried it on GitHub, and it like broke initially. And then I was going to try there's the tool, an AI tool in IntelliJ, and I looked up some reviews on like how to use it, and it just seemed like absolutely terrible. So I gotta use like the right AI coding tool, and I have to use it, figure out a context to use it in where it like actually doesn't crash. So honestly, I think the large language models coding seems actually pretty amazing from the results I've seen, but it's the like the context of trying to use it just seems to not work. The integration is not good, but I think it's just starting to get good now. For the last week, I've been focusing on trying to get taxes done, and before that, I was trying to get the latest release of this game out. But I think one of the next things I will experiment with is to, give a really good try to using AI for coding. Now that it's actually kind of good. From what I've seen so far, I actually think like the way I would try and use it is probably very, like a lot of noobs just seem to think, oh, it's like it can automate my coding. But the way I would try and prefer to use it is very, very different. Like I think it would be great for you or generating test cases. And almost like just like supervising what you're doing and supervising your coding and like suggesting things to like improve it or make it more simple or. But I haven't actually had the time to mess around with it much yet. They're a pain to train. They've done similar things to chemistry to create compounds for testing. Yeah, I almost think I'm almost leaning towards like it opens up the possibility for like a new type of coding, or like it opens up the possibility for like a new type of coding task, and like, but some of the most difficult coding is still going to be manual, I think. But it's also and like the entry level, like a lot of the kind of when I first started my business, that was kind of on the tail end of when you could still make a little bit of money building like WordPress websites. But then within a few years, like nobody was paying money to get WordPress plugins and stuff built. And that entire economy kind of got wiped out. And there was like, there was just a million local quality WordPress plugins out there. And now that same kind of thing is happening for like basically every simple user interface. I think AI is going to be able to automate the creation of like the most basic, works good enough user interfaces for stuff, which is actually going to open up I think it may even open up coding to like a much larger audience. Only good for high-level concepts and tailored examples. Yeah, I haven't, like I said, I just haven't had the opportunity to sit down and mess around with it much. I think we'll still need a human that knows what they're doing. I remember your story with that lonely woman wasting her time to get a website up. Lonely woman. You mean the when I went to the business meetup and there was a woman who asked about like a food catering business or something? Yeah, lots of stuff like that. I mean, there's lots of people that think they want to do entrepreneurship, but in reality, they kind of don't. Tire kickers are called. Just a waste of time. Yeah, and I mean, sometimes it's not even. I don't even think it's like malicious. Like I don't really even want to like. They're not bad people. They're people who have not reached a level of self-awareness about what they even want themselves, and they think they've been brainwashed. They watched like too many episodes of like Dragon's Den or the like one of those venture capital shows or something, and they're like, hey, I want to do a business. That's an easy thing. Most entrepreneurs get trapped at the 75K a year take home. I haven't even reached that point yet. Some people believe they work for themselves when they become an entrepreneur, but end up being enslaved by investors and shareholders. Yeah, I mean, it's really hard to escape the matrix. I do some things and experiment and try to double down on what works, but I think I still have a fair amount of independence, but now increasingly more of my revenue comes from YouTube. So if YouTube wants to boss me around these days, then YouTube is my new master. But previously it was clients. But I guess the only way you can get away from that is trying to diversify revenue a bit. As humans need to go where they think they will get more money, better quality of life. Most agree it's better others deal with the problems of finding work or pay until they figure out about economics and econometrics. In life, you'll always have a boss. YouTube, a client, a middle manager. Unless you live in the forest, then you truly have no boss. Let's all become farmers. That's one option. St. Francis, yes, believe this. God gave a bird all it needed, but the forest doesn't have Wendy's. You could build your own Wendy's. I'd rather light myself on fire than dig fence posts and milk cows. I mean, the solution is really just to become so rich you don't have a boss. Everything can be solved with more money. Hence the World Domination Fund. Forest Wendy's is blasphemy? That's a pessimistic perspective. You just gotta believe in yourself. Then you can build your own Wendy's in the forest. Why is that complaining? Cannot find symbol. Oh, that's why. Because I renamed it. Like Cartman made his own Mexican restaurant from stem cells. I'm not familiar with that episode. Once you add oil to the terminal game, the US will come knocking your door. That's a good point. That's a good. I really should add oil and energy products to the game. It'll have to be added eventually. Money is a plus, but for some people, the lack of hope and goals made it like absolute nothing. I was having trouble parsing that statement, but episode 107, if you're interested. I'll probably forget about it. Actually, I don't even watch programs like that. Haven't watched stuff like that in years. The Canadian government will shut down your pipeline initiatives. That's why I got to get the World Domination Fund going, because once I take over the world, then I don't have to worry about all these nonsense. Not building pipelines. I can just actually build all the pipelines that are necessary. And I'll just figure out a way to be nice to everyone, and like not build it on any sacred lands or anything, and make sure the pipeline doesn't break open, spill oil everywhere, all over the polar bears. Robert watches anime. I've never watched an anime. My Dutch friend believes Canadians just club seals. Perhaps the game ought to include this. Probably not. That's not a higher priority feature to add. Oh wow, we got a super chat from Leet Kitty Cat, probably cat face. I wish YouTube would actually fix their UI. I've been struggling a lot with memorizing math formulas that I presently know. I find that I lose them from memory, about 8 months from memorizing them. Do you have any general advice for me? That's a good one. honestly, that's a difficult. I would personally, I would probably struggle to recall math formulas 8 months after the fact. I would say it depends on what type of math formulas they are. If they're like for example, trigonometry formulas, like what is it, like 2 cosine of theta minus some angle equals this other type of thing. Like those, that's an example of one that's, I think, quite challenging to memorize in any intuitive way. I would say the best way, I guess it depends how you really need to recall it. Because if you have to recall it quickly for a test, then that's maybe different than if you just need to kind of recall it for math work you're doing on the side. I would say probably it makes sense to, instead of, you could focus on being capable of deriving the formulas again quickly. So, for example, for the trig formulas, there's quite a few. A lot of them can be derived from something. So if you can try to remember how a lot of them are derived, there's also like that would be like the developing deep mathematical intuition, like just remembering that most of the formulas are derived by squaring something or dividing by something. Then the other ways would be like the more abstract ways of memorizing, like you invent a story about the formula, or you try to like take a formula, or even something that you could probably even consider these days is take the formula, paste it into like ChatGPT, and say like, hey, I'm having trouble remembering this formula. Invent some like elaborate story or something about this formula, invent with like colorful characters or something about the way it looks that helps me to memorize it. And then you could like memorize a story about the formula. That's one other way to memorize. But other than that, I think the best way, if it's possible, is think about like memorize the simpler, more general formula, and then get yourself to a position where you can like rederive it if necessary on the fly, and that's a pretty good way of storing it. Thank you for the $10. Pipelines for everyone. Yes. Every child in Canada deserves to have their own pipeline. Impressive you went to UW without encountering anime. There were actually there were a few people who really were interested in anime, and there was one point where they were talking about it and trying to introduce me to it, and I was like, is this the thing I should like get into? And then I reflected on it, and I realized that it would just take too much time to get into it. University was quite busy for me. I did not have a lot of downtime. Have you tried tattooing them on your forearms? That's another option. Do a coding project regarding the math formulas. Yeah, that's the other option is if you can, of course, just using them a lot. If you don't use them for 8 months, then it's not surprising that you would forget them. I always picture a street thug putting a gun to me and yelling the quadratic equation. I guess if that works, I'm not sure that would be that effective for me. What is this? This is me doing some coding work on my terminal-based block mining game. It runs in the Linux terminal. Mr. Robot. First time see you. Nice to meet you. Nice to meet you too. Welcome. Just really wanted advice on it. Yeah, hopefully that's good. What specific types of formulas have you been memorizing? Are you a student currently? What do you consume for fun? I would say my main distraction is like when I just take a break, just open YouTube and see what's check the latest news or whatever. But other than that, I wake up, I work, eat some food, get distracted for a bit with the news, or like whatever comes up in my YouTube recommended feed, and then go back to working, and that's basically it. 7 days a week. What I meant by that is learning the formulas through fear. Yeah, I don't know if that's ever been effective for me. So healthy? I guess it's kind of boring. Got to go. We'll be back some other time. Thanks for stopping by. What are your plans after world domination? Fix all of the economy and end all the wars and stuff. Probably should try to sleep. Bye-bye. Have a good night. Math, the more you practice, the more you achieve. That's true. I tend to just turn off my phone after seeing recent news nowadays. Yeah, I mean, it's so... sometimes I'm like, I should just stop looking at this because it's wasting my time. But then I'm like, wait a minute, this is, the stuff that's happened recently. It's like, this is a big deal. It's going to have effects for a long time. All right, this might be the moment of truth. See if it compiles and doesn't crash. Oh, that's because it's probably renamed. Follow courts and the money, not the headlines. At least that seems to filter out. It's BS for me. Anyway, just check in for 5 minutes before bed. Have a good night. 124. 140. $158. $163. I hate memorial subjects. I'm not sure what that reference is, but I go on call at 10 a.m. Wish me luck. Question mark. I wish you luck as well. 10 a.m. I guess it depends how long away 10 a.m. is. That makes sense. 11 hours. That's not too bad. You can get lots of sleep in that time. Kasan Vlogs22 says, hi again. How's it going? Maybe subjects requiring a lot of rote memorization. Oh, you mean for the previous chat about memorizing formulas? Let's see, 153. was in reference my feelings toward specific subjects. Oh, I guess you probably mean like subjects that require a lot of memorization. Yeah, I can understand that. Nice. It looks like it's not crashing. That is really good. So it looks like the underlying, everything is going through the new cuboid address data structure. I'll have to test with, I'll have to do some other tests after. But that is great, because then now that all the code is, the like heavy lifting code is actually going through the new data structure, it seems to be mapping things correctly. I guess there could still be some off by one errors somewhere. Let me think, is there anything else that uses this? Mainly it's the memory tracking code. Have you tried Yemeni coffee before? I recommend if you haven't. I have not. Yeah, Yemeni. Yemeni is in, like, from Yemen? I don't even know where I'd go to get that. Or is it like the coffee bean? Economical theories? Yeah, I think I kind of know what you mean. Like subjects where you have to memorize, like where you're just memorizing like slop that was made up by some professor. Like if you're memorizing math, at least math is an intrinsic property of the universe. But if you're just memorizing like random like marketing theory that some person made up, it's not very satisfying. Are developing a game? Yes, indeed. All right, let's see if the iron pick works, because that uses one of those data structures. That looks like it's working. Let's run it again. Yes, from Yemen. It's a coffee with spices like cardamom, cloves, cinnamon, sometimes ginger. It has to use specific beans. Interesting. I've never, I have heard some people say like that, yeah, I think it's coffee. It might have been Yemenese coffee, or coffee from, like, actually it might have been Saudi Arabia or something. They said they had coffee and it was like, it was nothing at all. They thought it would be like kind of similar to our coffee, but it wasn't. It was a very different thing. I've also I've heard some people say that like here in the West, it's not like crazy hot all the time, but over there in those like Saudi Arabia and stuff, the heat is just like unbearably hot all the time. And since you sweat much more, you're always losing salt. And over there, I haven't heard this repeated or described or articulated in many other places, but apparently like salt intake is way more important over there than it is here, like in terms of cuisine. And I think adding salt to their coffee was also a big thing. I do not understand what you make. This is a video game that you play in the Linux terminal. So you wander around this infinite universe and you spam the M key to mine blocks. You press the C key to craft. I heard that too. Yeah, because I wasn't sure if I had made that up or something. I just read it somewhere. But I guess it's one of those things that's like, I don't know, over there it's like taken for granted, but the relationship between like making sure you managing your salt intake is like just as important as managing your water intake, which I guess makes sense because chemically speaking, you need the salt to, like the salt is physically required to pull in the water. Your body uses salt to drive movement of water through osmosis, if I remember. Yeah, it just comes down to like the raw chemistry, and like if your body, like if you just think about your body as a bag of salt, if you deplete the salt out of your body, then you can't pull in water. But if you're like just a giant bag, a meat bag full of salt, then you can store a lot of water. All right, that is, I think, a good piece of progress tonight. Okay, so now the new cuboid address is in the project and it works. So I can just go back and start taking all the references, all the things that use cuboid address, and just swap them for a new cuboid address and fix it as it breaks. I think the only thing I need to change is the initialization. I just need to like add and remove some +1s and -1s, and then eventually nothing will be using this class, and I can delete it, and then I can just rename new cuboid address to be cuboid address, and the migration is complete. And it's also, I can pause or stop the migration whenever I want. Makes it worse, you have to memorize it in French. I remember that. I did French immersion back in the day, but I did not retain a lot of it. Did you know that you can be a villain for about $60? But you can also be a hero for free. Can you, given this project codes, can you give in this project codes. I'm not sure what question you mean by that. If you want the access to the code, there's a link in the description to the GitHub repo. I guess you could be a hero with a welding mask and a pipe wrench. That's true. It depends on the circumstances. Well, I think that might be it for tonight. The next step on this is I have to start swapping the many hundreds of references to this class, and I won't bother starting that tonight. Actually, I gotta run some other tests on just to make sure this doesn't totally break everything on the other client class. Well, this was a productive night. I guess we'll be back tomorrow night for day 67. And with that, I think we'll leave it there. All right, talk to you later, guys.